What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Rebel North podcast. I'm Ivan Vargas. That's my buddy Josh Ward, man. How are you?
Good, man. Long time no see, bro.
I know. We've been just slacking on this on our Cubs podcast here, but I mean, it's actually been a blessing in disguise.
Yeah.
Because what's going on out there? I'm joking. It's been a blessing in disguise because we got more news.
Yeah.
A lot more news.
Yeah, definitely. A lot more things to talk about for sure.
And I just want to start off by saying thank you to Jon Lester and Kyle Schwarber, but this is probably the best for the Cubs moving forward.
Yeah.
And, it sucks that they're gone, and we're going to get into it right now. Kyle Schwarber and Jon Lester both signing one-year deals. But for me, I just feel like, what direction are we going in? What direction do you want to go in? Do you want to say throwing somebody that you're emotionally attached to a bone?
Mm-hmm.
Or do you want to let him try to contend with a team that probably can contend now? And you're both better off. The Cubs don't have to pay him. He's happy with a contender going, in his last few seasons, maybe his last season, who knows?
Yeah.
The Cubs need to move forward.
You and I both talked a little bit off air, and you brought up the fact that the Cubs are looking like they're going in the Oakland A's kind of direction, where they're on a budget and they're trying to have a little bit of a retool, not a rebuild, but a retool of the team. And, use their farm system and start, possibly calling up some of the guys in the middle of the season once they trade away some major league players, and if the Cubs aren't in playoff contention,
I feel like you're right. I mean, I feel like that's the way that they're gonna attack. Like you said, I was more or less saying it's gonna be. They're gonna contend. The A's are contending every year, in my opinion.
Yeah, totally.
But they're contending with what they have.
Yeah.
And that's what the Cubs' approach is going to be. It's going to be contend with what we have. It's not going to be trying to go out and do too much. I don't expect any movement at the deadline again. It is what it is. You have to kind of eat these next couple of years in order to get back in the hunt for free agents.
Yeah.
But you also have to kick the tires on guys. The younger guys, especially, and what it seems to be to me is the Cubs are willing to let go of some of, I don't want to call it fads but some of the,
I would say some of like Theo's
guys. Yeah, they're cleaning up the remnants of the Theo Epstein era.
Yes,
and that's Jon Lester, unfortunately, Kyle Schwarber. I feel good about it because Jed has chosen the direction.
Yeah, I believe in the direction that Jed Hoyer is going in. When he got hired, feels like a couple months ago, but he got hired and, he made his press conference, and I was out here and I believed in what he was trying to do. I think that he has a vision for this team, and it's through rebuilding in the minor leagues. We've seen that a little bit this week where he went out and signed 7 international players, and he's trying to rebuild that and make it so it's like when the Cubs had Eloy Jimenez, Gleyber Torres, Jorge Soler, and all those guys in the minor leagues, and you bring those guys up at the same time, and that makes your major league team that much better.
Yeah, I like the idea of stacking prospects, even if it's to the detriment of some of the nostalgia, some of the fans longing to see their guys. You know what I'm saying? The 16 guys, that Cubs team that did it. It sucks, but it's a necessity, man. You have to cut the fat sometime.
Yeah,
you really do. I don't believe that keeping a guy like Jon Lester or Kyle Schwarber would have benefited either parties.
No, and we've seen Jon Lester on the decline a little bit. We both love Jon Lester, and when he was out there pitching good, we were the first ones to praise how great he is and everything, how much we appreciate him. But yeah, let's be real. He was on the decline since after the 2017 season, and you do gotta kind of move on. You want him, but if you did bring him back, he was going to be that pitcher that was just going to be eating up innings and probably giving up 5 runs a start.
Yeah, I just like you said, man. I like John Lester. I like his.
Yeah,
I,
he's a competitor.
He was a
You like that.
competitor. I like that. He seems like
He was a leader.
Yeah, he seems like he was a leader. He held people accountable to an extent. I don't like I don't like tying my team, like pretty much anchoring my team.
Yeah.
To whenever the hell he's done.
Yeah.
I don't like to do that. I did before, maybe when I was younger. I would try to. I mean, some guys, if they still have it, yeah, absolutely. Like Tom Brady, there's guys that can do it, but there's other guys that you're like, hey, this is about done.
Yeah.
It's about you don't have to call it with us, but you're gonna have to call it somewhere else because it can't be here. And I feel like John Lester would have been a letdown this year.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like John's going out for one more year to see if he still wants to do it. That's in my opinion. But I don't feel like John knows whether if he could go or not. That's why he signed a 1-year deal with the Nets.
Yeah. Signs a 1-year deal, $5 million. A lot of Cubs fans are upset, thinking that the Cubs could have signed him for the same deal. But yeah, I mean, you got to think about it. The Cubs are trying to cut their budget and they're trying to save money. They don't have those extra monies to dish out to veteran players like a John Lester, or Jose Quintana, and bring them back on the contracts that they signed for. Each guy signed for $5 or $8 million with the teams that they went with. So
yeah, it's about an average of 5-6 million, something like that. About average of $5 million is what they signed for. But
the Cubs bought out John Lester's contract his last year for
right.
$10 million.
Right.
So,
well, to me, it just seems like it just seems like everybody's just frustrated because the Cubs are going back. They're regressing.
They're getting rid of all the fan favorites.
They're getting rid of all the fan favorites, but it's going to be it's not what they were accustomed to in recent memory.
And those are the fake Cub fans right there,
right.
man.
Dude, I was like, dude, when 15 happened, I was like, oh, okay, that's nice. Okay, that's good. That's a positive. That's a step forward.
Yep.
When 16 happened, it was just like, oh shit, like they did it.
Yeah.
Like they did this crazy sons of bitches. But no, I feel like I always knew it was one season away from kind of a regret, kind of making me think that they're going to start regressing, and it really did take one season. Like when 17 happened, and they made a couple moves. You had Rizzo's back problems started to really flare up. You started to have issues, Chris, things like that. Some of the contract signings.
Well, you start to see that they were like handcuffed and not being able to go after free agents aggressively after that 2016 year. Like they signed Daniel Descalso and John Jay. John Jay was the highest contract they gave out in those years, and it was like $8 or $9 million. And Descalso was the only guy that they signed for 2 years, and his contract was like $6 million. So the Cubs were really hamstrung in giving out free agent contracts after that 2017 season.
Right.
So yeah, they really couldn't make. They didn't make those improvements. They were losing players, but they were making those improvements to be contenders for a World Series. And
it's just weird that now they were willing to bring in. Why weren't you willing to bring in a guy like Eloy sooner rather than later? Because Eloy got to the Sox and he was up right away. It was, why weren't you willing to do that? Like I said, some of the moves just pissed me off. It's in the past, but for me, these moves, the decision to let some of these guys go. We're going to go ahead and move on. We're going to talk about Chatwood and Quintana because they're going too. But the decision that, hey, we can't hold on to you because for something that you did or didn't do. And Chatwood and Quintana didn't really do shit. It's really Schwarber and Lester that fans are pissed off about, understandably. But think about this. Look at the direction of where your team was going. Were you getting any better?
Yeah. Yeah, and you and I talked again off air about Kyle Schwarber about like he was just, everybody loved him because of his home runs, those balls he would hit on top of the scoreboard, all that stuff, all that great stuff he did in the World Series and everything. But would you rather have Eloy or Schwarber now? You lost both of them. They're both not on your team anymore. So, you kind of shot yourselves in the foot there because realistically, you see what Eloy's doing in the South Side and you kind of are like, damn.
Well, you get yoked up with these fucking comparisons. I'm sorry to swear, but you buy into these comparisons, these comps. Fucking Babe Ruth.
Yeah.
And Kyle was hitting great. I thought Kyle could have hit maybe I thought he was going to be like a guy that could hit like maybe 30, 35 home runs on an average and maybe bat 265, 270, drive in 100 RBI, stay healthy, but it's just it wasn't meant to be.
No, he was a 20 home run hitter, 215 to 20 batting average. And yeah, he improved in his defense a lot. And he had that 1 year where he hit 39 home runs for the Cubs, but he just never was really good at hitting against lefties. And that was his biggest Achilles heel offensively. And, it affected him, And so, the Cubs made the decision to not re-sign him or, they decided to let him go. Some fans don't understand that and are upset, but
he's going to be fine in Washington. He's going to be fine regardless of where he goes after that or if he stays. I just don't think – I think a change of scenery for Kyle might benefit him. You never know. I like Kyle Schwarber. He put on a lot of work to be an everyday player. Mm-hmm. Especially, on defense is what I'm talking about. Putting that work. But think about it. Think about the position you would have been in with Eloy in left as opposed to Kyle. And you never know. Like I said, you make the choice and you stick with it. And he was a Theo guy. The thing is, and what I hate is about these compilations, because we're hearing a lot of these, we work together type of approaches to franchises in Chicago. What were the differences? You know what I mean? What were the differences with Theo and Jed? What were their philosophy differences? Because we know how good of friends they are. Mm-hmm. We know that they got a World Series. They worked well together. But what were the differences in players that I want to know? Because what if you went the other way? What if one guy was right? Then it's hard for me. I can understand the concept of 2 minds are better than one, but not in certain cases, man. Not in certain cases. In certain cases, like baseball, look at some of the decisions that they made. They probably bought in together, but look at some of the decisions that they made moving forward. It's hard to really definitively say one or the other had say. I would imagine Theo had final say with everything.
Yeah.
But I would also imagine that he would have dominated the decision.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's tough to say. Obviously this is going to be our first year with Jed being, at the helm, being the guy, and we're going to see what his decision process is going to be like. So I think we're not going to be able to really get a good comparison till, a couple years into his tenure as president of baseball operations. So, the comparison is going to be only that they're really good friends and they made a couple good decisions to help win a World Series championship.
And the next two guys that left the Cubs this week, Tyler Chatwood and Jose Quintana. Chatwood signing a 1-year deal worth $3 million with the Blue Jays, and Quintana signs 1 year, $8 million with the Angels and rejoins Joe Maddon. Good luck to them both. I didn't hate either of them. I just hated the trade for Q. Now in retrospect, Eloy, man, Eloy and Dylan Cease. Even though Dylan Cease has kind of struggled, he's a young pitcher. You never know what might happen with him, especially if he's in a good environment and you have somebody that's willing to work with him, or he's willing to work with with the coaches he has. I just feel like these two guys in particular, well, them and Brandon Morrow in particular, were huge mistakes. And you never really, like I said, you never really can fully understand what you've done, like what your decision was, if it was a terrible decision or if it was just a fluky decision. I just felt like Tyler Chatwood was whatever. You know, what you're gonna expect from a free agent that came off a decent year. You were just kind of trying to add a little bit. But Quintana, man, we talked about Eloy. They talked about Eloy like they knew it. Like they knew it. He was surefire. You want to get rid of a surefire thing, that a guy that's going to hit 30 home runs? You believed it was, you know what I'm saying? A guy that's going to hit 30 30 home runs every year.
Quintana was the White Sox best pitcher, though.
In a shitty division.
And the Cubs needed a left-handed pitcher to go into their rotation. So at the time, the Cubs had to trade capital. You know, obviously you don't know what prospects are going to be when they get into the major leagues. They could not be good. Mm-hmm. And that's what Eloy was. He was just a prospect. Like, mm-hmm. Yeah, some scouts said, sure thing. But at the end of the day, it was just a prospect. It's kind of like the White Sox trading away Fernando Tatis to get James Shields from the Padres. You know, like, I'm sure he was a sure thing too, because that's son of a former Major League Baseball player. Like, you would think the kid's going to be pretty damn good. But the Sox traded him away because they had capital and they were in a playoff hunt and they needed pitching.
Right.
Same thing with the Cubs. The Cubs,
because I felt like this guy
had Schwarber blocking him.
I guess my problem is, or I guess the question I would ask is that something that they're going to that you have to think about moving forward if you're Jed? Look at the decisions that you made. Look at the mistakes that you made in the recent years. Try not to repeat that. But I mean, like I said, it's hard. It's hard to really fully judge what's going to happen.
Yeah.
When you make these decisions.
Yeah, you would hope that he would learn from those mistakes that Theo and him made together, and he wouldn't trade away stuff like that. So yeah, totally. I think this time go around, he's gonna collect as many prospects as he can, mm-hmm. And try to see what he has and hang on to the really good gems and do what he can with the rest of the guys, hopefully. And as far as the Cubs pitching staff goes, the guys that they lost, the only one that I'm really kind of was hoping that they would bring back was Chatwood, mm-hmm. Just because he did show promise as a swing pitcher, bullpen and starter that 2019 season. He pitched really great for the Cubs, and he was throwing really hard, and he had a good start to the 2020 season. It's just he got injured, and that was it. So for him to go and to see he only signed for $5 million for a 1-year deal with the Blue Jays, it's a little disappointing that the Cubs couldn't match that at least. But yeah, I guess they think that he hasn't fully recovered from both his injuries that he suffered last year. So best of luck to him, and with the Blue Jays, and yeah. I
didn't hate Q. I didn't hate either of them. I just felt.
I mean, Q just underperformed when he was here.
I felt like if you make a decision with two prospects, though, Josh, it's. I would have. Yeah. It sounds like you're going for it, but man, I just feel like you need to look at the division he was in and look what teams was he performing against?
Yeah,
those Sox teams were terrible. One diamond in the rough can look, it can look amazing, but you had the likes of the Tigers with you had teams that weren't as good. I'm sure that was back when the Astros weren't as good as they were now. I believe. Mm-hmm. I believe they were still kind of flirting. They were getting there. Yeah. So you played teams like that in the American League, and it was like, all right, you played teams like that in your division. I just don't think that. I don't think that pulling the trigger now, even when you are in playoff contention, unless you have an ample amount of prospects, and they don't have enough. So I just don't see any trades on the horizon. They're going to have to win with the guys that they have in house.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun. I feel like it's going to be fun. We're going to start looking forward to watching Cubs games, even though it's going to be, even though in my opinion, it's going to be kind of like you're going to get a home run from Rizzo. You're going to get the Javi magic. You're going to get the typical Cubs thing that you come accustomed to, but I don't think you're going to get what you want. And for me, it's getting to the World Series, dude. I'm sorry, I need to see another one.
No, you're not going to get that this year.
No, at all. Not at all.
Unless everything falls the Cubs' ways.
Some magical type of BS.
Yeah, I mean, they're not looking at it like that this year. They're looking at it as, a retool. Yeah, you're still going to have the Rizzos and the Baez and the Contreras and the Ian Happs in the world right now. And you're going to see a lot of the Cubs farm system kids come up. I'm sure of it, like in the middle of the season. You're going to see Braylon Marquez coming in out of the bullpen throwing 102-mile-an-hour fastballs. You might see a Brendan Harris coming in. Davis, coming in and playing in the outfield, So
you're going to see some prospects come up. The names that you're not accustomed to. But it's a good thing, I think. I feel like it's a good thing. You're going to find guys that are going to build towards your future. And you needed that because I felt like they were stuck.
Yeah. Right now, who is the Cubs starting left fielder? You just had him pulled up, Nick Martini.
I think that might be them.
Yeah, right now because he's on the 40-man roster.
Yeah.
He's by default the starting left fielder for the Cubs right now. So, yeah, you might be seeing Brendan Davis coming in sooner rather than later,
Like I said, the A's, and it's not because Nick Martini played for the A's, but the A's comparison, it's real.
Yeah.
I think they could do it. I think they can make the playoffs. Don't get me wrong. I don't know, man. I don't think.
I think they can too because the division is getting weak.
Yeah, I just don't think that. I don't think it's going to be the type of run that we want. Even if they are bounced, it's not going to be the type of run that we want.
No.
We might see them again in a one game playoff.
Yeah.
To get in.
And we're not saying that the Cubs are going to win 100 games.
No.
It might be only 85 or 87 games that they win to win the division.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you're right. It's just they're going to have to get hot at the right time if they're going to win the World Series, which
Absolutely.
I don't think they are this year. I think they're just trying to get through this year into next year and put a decent quality product team out there.
I just want to see when the money starts coming in, because when the money starts coming back, they had Joseph Phillips on Sean and Maya, who works for the Crusader. He came and he had told us that Joe Ricketts had put a kibosh on any type of real investment into the team until Tom cleans up what's going on, because I get Corona and everything it made a hit on everybody, all of us. And I know people don't want to hear about billionaire problems, but we're talking about the Cubs. The Cubs have an issue with being in debt, and I feel like that is a major factor in what's going to happen moving forward. At least until they can take a chunk out of whatever financial problems they're having. I don't know if they're gonna make it every year, but for next season, I can say the Cubs have a fair shot to making the playoffs. What about the year after that? Because you're gonna see them like I feel you're gonna see them. Well, we made it through this year. We contended. We got some of the money back. We need to trim more. I feel like they're gonna regress a little bit more, or not regress in the sense. Well, they'll get rid of some of their players with contracts. They'll get rid of some of the contracts and then go ahead and say, all right, we'll play this. We'll play the next year out. They'll kind of be a middle of the pack team, not make the playoffs. And then finally in the next year, they'll make an attempt to get relevant. But will they have enough prospects? I like the fact that they're trying to make an attempt to replenish the farm system. I don't know if it's going to be I don't know if we're going to see a Cubs really truly contend until, like I said, after 2-3 years.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you're saying about after this season going into next year, what's the team going to look like if they're going to cut more fat or trim more off the team? I think that's when you're going to see more of those players that are in the news right now, in the trade rumors right now, like a Wilson Contreras, possibly. We already know Chris Bryant's in his last year of his contract this year, so he might not even be back next year. That's going to be off your salary right there. And if they trade away Wilson, that's more off your salary. And I think they're only trying to keep Rizzo and Baez, is what the reports seem like, is that they're really trying to sign those guys and keep them.
It makes sense. You got the heart and the soul. I feel like I love Chris. Like, Chris is great. I just don't think Chris is going to be a part of this team.
Yeah.
And you know what? Speaking of Chris, let's get to that.
Yeah.
Because in the news this week, Chris Bryant was quoted.
Well, he called out.
Prior to that, he had called out. All right, you're right. He calls out Jesse Rogers and ESPN for misquoting him in an article this week, where it pretty much said, and I'm paraphrasing, it pretty much said that Chris Bryant wasn't happy playing baseball anymore.
Yeah.
And Chris came out and was like, that is completely out of context. He was just explaining, with all that's been going on, it's been hard to be happy playing baseball.
Yeah, with the coronavirus.
With the trade rumors, with all everything that's going on, it's been hard to be happy playing baseball. You got constant problems coming at you.
Yeah.
It's hard to focus. It's hard to, it's hard to enjoy what you do, what you love to do. I can understand it. Obviously, there was some miscommunication, and I'm cool with Chris calling him out. I don't know why everybody hates Chris. I guess pun intended. But why?
All the reporters hate Chris because they don't really know the real story behind Chris Bryant, whether he wants to be a Cub or whether he wants to leave, whether he rejected the $200 million contract extension the Cubs offered him last year, or whether that wasn't really ever on the table or anything, So the reporters just don't have a clue of what they're reporting.
Yeah.
And because Chris Bryant doesn't have a personal, he should be like Michael Jordan and have like just that one reporter guy that he did interviews with, Ahmad Rashad.
Yeah.
And just do it like that, because all these other
one guy you trust
are just idiots right now.
With that, the only problem I have with that is you kind of isolate people. You kind of alienate people. You kind of make people. But it's you got to be fucking Michael Jordan to do that. Unless you're a player of Michael Jordan's stature, that shit ain't flying. Like, you're gonna have to talk to everybody, and I feel like Chris should keep talking. I don't feel like he should have a single journalist or whoever that he talks to and speaks for him. I feel like Chris is doing the absolute right thing and saying exactly what he means. Keep saying exactly what you mean, Chris. Like, be this guy that's going to go ahead and step out and be more vocal. I feel like that's what we need to hear. Where's the vocal Chris? Chris has just been the third, like, he's a superstar, but he's the freaking third wheel on our team. You know what I'm saying? You got Rizzo, Baez, and Bryant. It's Rizzo, Baez, Bryant. Every time I hear Rizzo, Baez, Bryant, you could say Brizzo all you want. They could be friends all they want. But in Chicago's eyes, it's Rizzo, Baez.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. And in the front office eyes, too, it seems like, too. So, yeah, I think going to that report, it was Jesse Rogers from ESPN Chicago, pretty much trying to break news. And, Chris Bryant pretty much called him out on Twitter, calling it fake news, calling it clickbait, telling him to do better and things like that. So Chris Bryant totally squashed that report, calling it, fake. And yeah, I believe him. So
I believe him too, because he's been dealing with a lot. And I was talking to Sean and Maya with Joseph and Sean. I was just saying I feel like a part of that is just natural parts of life. Like he's got married since the World Series, a baby, things are coming out. He's been injured, trade rumors. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot. Everything that's going on in the world. You get a lot, so I can understand his frustration. I just don't think that it's true that he's fallen out of love with
or
baseball.
unhappy
with being with the Cubs. I don't believe it. I just think he's trying to find his place on the team.
Yeah.
I really do. He's our superstar third wheel.
Yeah, he is. I mean, it's partly because he's been injured a lot,
right?
So he hasn't been really on the field, and when he does get on the field, he does perform.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think that you see more of the Baez on the field a lot, playing through injuries. You see Rizzo playing through injuries a lot.
And then when Chris goes out, it's like Chris is gone for forever.
And then he tries, and then he just doesn't. He can't do it because he did try to do it with his shoulder, and he changed his whole batting swing and everything.
Look, I'm all for you staying out and being healthy, but the fact of the matter is that you being out and the team kind of just moving on without you, you get kind of left behind.
Yeah.
And it sucks because we're looking at Chris Bryant stats. We're talking about Chris Bryant. You know what I mean? We're talking about KB.
Yeah.
KB's stats are great. I just like you almost don't believe in him. Like you almost are like, is this real? Is this the guy? Is this the guy? Or like, who are you? Like, who is Chris Bryant? To be honest with you, I don't. He's not really a vocal guy. He's more of I just go through the motions. Like, I just feel like maybe you should open up a little more. Maybe you never know. Maybe if you open up a little more and if you're healthy, maybe you'll find some success here. I don't want him to leave. I really don't. Like that. Chris is probably my guy where I'm like, God, why can't it just be 3? Why can't it be Rizzo, Baez, Bryant for forever?
Yeah.
I just don't know why Chris would. I don't know why he would. I don't know why he wouldn't be more vocal, especially if people are attacking him, or not attacking him, but people are pretty much calling him uninterested or questioning any part of his love for the game. I just feel like it's time for you to start speaking up, Chris. Keep calling him out.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, another news: Cubs signed 7 international free agents, including a big one, a big name in international free agent.
Yeah.
The free agent market, shortstop Christian Hernandez signed a 3 million deal with the Cubs. Shortstop, 6'2", about 170, about like 17, 8,
he was like
that.
Yeah, 17
years old.
I were watching his YouTube videos.
The comps are fun. But like I said about those comps, those comps can come back and haunt you. But he looked good. We just watched his YouTube videos. And
comparisons to Manny Machado and Alex Rodriguez. You could definitely see it in his his batting stance and his swing. The Manny Machado comparison, and maybe at shortstop you see the A-Rod comparison because of his height, because A-Rod did play short.
Right.
But yeah, I'm excited, man, because they had a $5 million budget and they pretty much spent $3.5 million on this kid alone. So the Cubs definitely believe in this kid. You and I have seen his videos. We both love his swing. The pop off his bat, really great. His hands on defense looks like fucking Javi Baez.
Yeah, they really do.
He looks quick and everything, so I'm really excited.
Well, we're also talking too. Like we like the idea of bringing competition, and I know they went ahead and signed. They drafted Ed Howard, but hey, who cares? Like, what if we can move Ed to third? I don't mind. Move you can
trade Ed Howard.
You can trade Ed Howard. You can trade Christian.
Yeah.
You have options. You give yourself options for not only to play for your Major League Ball club, but to possibly move later. I just don't like I said, I don't see that happening for a long time because of the mistakes that they made. They're going to hold on to a lot more because I felt like they wanted. I felt like they really wanted the first one, of course, and I felt like they were more desperate to get this to get the second with trading the trade for Quintana. These guys are going to be here for a while. A lot of these prospects are going to be here for a while. Like I said, you're going to see the Cubs light movements, sleight of hand type movements, where they're going to go ahead and try to put together prospects. They're going to trade prospects for prospects. You know what I mean? They're going to move guys for other guys that they think they like. They're going to do a lot of that moving forward because I feel like that's the best way to ensure you don't go ahead and run dry again with your prospects.
No.
After a World Series run.
Yeah, and what did they do before that World Series run? Before the Cubs became that great playoff team, they loaded up on shortstops.
Yeah,
and that's what they're doing right now. They're loading up on shortstops with the trade. When they trade Darvish to the Padres, they got a shortstop in that trade too. You know, so the Cubs are definitely trying to, or Jed is definitely trying to mimic that Cub philosophy before.
Why is it shortstop? Is it shortstops because shortstops can typically adjust to every position?
Yeah.
And they can typically adjust to every position on the field. They can play first. They can be second, third. Shit, they can catch. They can play center. You can have an athletic shortstop as long as he's a shortstop first. I feel like.
Yeah, they're really more sought after if they're especially the shortstops are already good at defense. Mm-hmm. So if you could get them to develop into a hitter,
right?
So,
I mean, I like where they're going, Josh. Like I said, they're not going to contend. We're going to go to games because like I said, Chicago's seems to be opening up. So eventually, hopefully, I mean, maybe we'll be able to go to games this year. We're going to check it out, but we're not going to be looking at this like we're expecting the Cubs to win unless they surprise us. Yeah. Unless they say, "Hey, screw you, Ivan and Josh. We're going to go ahead and win this thing." And we love our Cubs. I'm looking at this as who's sticking around, who looks good, who doesn't, who's going to need to move, who needs to stay, and where the Cubs going to go moving forward. That's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at how David Ross manages. I'm looking at how he manages the rotation, especially, and I expect it to be. I expect it to be good.
It's going to be a young rotation.
A 60-game sample size. But you have the leader of your rotation, Kyle Hendricks. I wouldn't ask for anybody better.
Yeah.
I couldn't ask for anybody better to go ahead and lead the Cubs rotation moving forward than Kyle Hendricks. He's going to get better, I would imagine. You're going to see Alec Mills. I think Alec Mills might be a quality type of guy. I think
that next step. Yeah.
I think he will be when the Cubs are ready and they let's say they sign a number one. You know, let's say they just sign another guy that's on Hendricks' level, maybe a hard thrower.
Yeah.
Right. Alec Mills, I believe, could be that solid number 3.
Yeah.
Azalai, I really think if Azalai could just if he could
show what he did last year, man,
right.
For sure he could be a really good number 3, number 2 guy.
Exactly. So I think that's how they're going to approach that moving forward. But I really like Kyle Hendricks right now.
What do you think of the Cubs free agent signing of Shelby Miller? I know he signed a 1-year minor league contract, so he's competing for a major league spot. He's not on the 40-man roster. $875,000, not a big investment in him. Mm-hmm. He was really, really good with the Atlanta Braves when he first came up. And then got traded with Jason Hayward to the Cardinals. Had a couple good seasons. Then injuries started hitting him. He's only 30 years old. He had Tommy John surgery a couple years ago. Do you think he didn't pitch last year? But do you think he could, find that old form again and be a good, like a sleeper pickup for the Cubs?
Like a 5 or 6 man?
I'm hoping he could be on the fifth man of the rotation to close that rotation out.
The Cubs are, like I said, are doing that Oakland A's Moneyball type of approach, dude. Yeah. And I would expect they're going to give Shelby Miller a shot. Any of these guys, any of these guys that they're going to kick. let's just see it. Let's see it. Let's see if you can do it. If you make the ball, if you make the big ball club, okay, let's see you perform. This year is just an observation year, in my opinion. This year is okay. What's the potential of this ball club moving forward? Where do you see potential outside of the core guys, and where do you need to work on? This is a strictly a year for research, I would say. If you're a Cubs fan, do your due diligence. I don't expect the Cubs to shock the world or anything like that. They're going to stay steady. Hopefully, they could beat bad ball clubs and sneak into the playoffs.
Yeah.
But also, with that, and right before we go ahead and get out of here, the Cubs also signed Austin Romine, which shores up their
Signed him yesterday. Yeah.
Their backup catcher slot. They signed him for a 1-year deal worth $1.5 million. Okay, I mean.
That's good. I mean, Austin Romine, he played for the Yankees and the Tigers, or just the Tigers, right?
Yankees and Tigers.
Yankees and Tigers. We all know him for getting into the brawl with Miggy.
That's right.
So not a big offensive hitter, defense first kind of guy. Does have a couple hits under his belt, so strictly backup, I would assume. So that I would assume that he's. The trade rumors for Wilson might be closed right now because Jed Hoyer said that Miguel Amaya is not major league ready this season. So, I would assume that's going to be our catchers right there.
I would still be looking at. I would take that with a grain of salt, man. I'm telling you, if they get a deal for Wilson Contreras at the deadline.
Well, at the deadline is different, but starting the season, right?
Starting the season, yes.
Yeah.
But if they get for one at the deadline, I could see. I mean, maybe you get a catcher coming back. Maybe you get a catcher coming back.
Look at the international players the Cubs signed. There's a couple catchers that they did sign, so the Cubs are loading up on that position also. They got a guy from Venezuela.
Moses Ballesteros.
I was reading about him. They really like his defense behind the plate, his pop time, throwing base runners out. They liked a lot. So, he could be someone to look into down the pipeline, future Cubs teams.
Yeah, and then Carlos Ramos from Venezuela.
Carlos Ramos too. So.
That's Cub.
Yeah, that's Cub right now.
That's what it's going to be right now. That's what it is. It's Austin Romine. It's looking forward to Miguel Amaya in a year. You're looking into the future with the Cubs. I mean, starting this season, you really are.
I mean, and looking at the roster, at their starting lineup right now, the Cubs starting 8, it's not that bad, man. I mean, you still got Jason Hayward in right. You got Ian Happ in center. We were talking, you got that dude, Nick Martini, right now that's going to be your starting left fielder. He has some major league experience at least with Oakland. As a matter of fact, he hit his first career home run against the Cubs at Wrigley a couple seasons ago. You still got KB on your roster. You still got Javi Baez. Still got Nico Horner. You still got Anthony Rizzo and Wilson Contreras. Your lineup is not horrible. Your lineup is pretty much the same it's been the last couple of years, minus Kyle Schwarber and minus the pitching staff that you were used to seeing. You're going to see new faces on the pitching staff, and it's going to be led by Kyle Hendricks, who we all know is a solid number 1 starter for any other major league team. They would die for that. So he's going to be our guy this year. And there's going to be young talent on the pitching rotation, that they're going to have their bumps in the road, but we're going to have to just accept that they're young and they're going to be fine, and that's it. You pretty much got the same Cubs starting 8,
I'm like I said, I'm all for the future, man. I'm all for the future. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap things up here on the Rebel North podcast. Hopefully the Cubs, hopefully they prove us wrong. Hopefully they give us something to cheer
Couple more
about.
signings, a couple more free agent signings would be
Nice.
nice.
If you're gonna kick the tires on guys, kick the tires on guys. Maybe we find somebody.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody rejuvenates their career with us.
Exactly.
Maybe that's the case. We'll see. All right, guys. For Josh Ward, I'm Ivan Vargas. This has been the Rebel North Podcast. We'll see you guys next time.
Peace.